everybody, and welcome back to the best reactions. It's the final race of the year. Abu Dhabi is done and dusted. The season is over. One final best reactions to get into. And Yas Marina Circuit delivered an absolute snooze fest. I mean, considering we had a three-way title fight, it still was like, you know what, we're going to have a normal race. We're going to have free practice 4 on a Sunday. That is what we essentially had. Let's get into your reactions right now. P10, Starweaver 1999, a fitting final tribute for Yuki as Red Bull racing driver. What is my purpose? You're a roadblock for Norris. Oh my god. Not the best roadblock, if we're being completely honest. Yuki Tsunoda apparently knew what he needed to do, and sadly for Max Verstappen fans, didn't really do much, did he, apart from picking up his own 5-second penalty, which was impressive, to say the least, and the fact that the defence was too late. It was down the straight. You can't change direction twice, and that's what happened, and then he forces Lando off the track. Whether you believe that or not, that's up to you. Controversy, blah, 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 blah. Either or, Yuki didn't really slow down Lando in the slightest, which was absolutely his purpose. P9, The Criz, Tommy's camera POV this week. So if you've been tuning into our watch-alongs, if you haven't been, I strongly suggest next year that you do, because we are, as a Formula 1 community, loving just watching every competitive session on YouTube and Twitch. But Tommy bought a Max cutout for this weekend, had it for qualifying, and of course Max got pole, had it for the race, and Max won as well. But Max absolutely lurking. I'm wondering what Tommy is going to do with this Max cutout now for the next couple of months. Hopefully just stores it away. Might be a bit weird to just have Max lurking around in the house in January, but Tommy loves Max, so you never know. P8, Ball R004. It hurts that it wasn't Oscar, but that is crazy, isn't it? That we have not had a World Drivers' Champion that isn't Verstappen or Hamilton for a very long time, since Sebastian Vettel back in 2013, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. So it's been a long time, a long old time of domination of two drivers, and Lando Norris is now Formula 1 World Champion. So I guess I want to, of course, I've said it in the main race podcast, but I'll say it here as well. A massive congratulations to Lando Norris. He fully deserves this World Championship. Whether you can have your own opinion on who you think deserved the World Championship. Max did a phenomenal comeback to even have a chance, but McLaren also liked to throw away points left, right and centre as well. But Lando's World Champion, and a massive congratulations to him. Now, I know we've spoken about Yuki, but this isn't in the top 10, but I had to share it with you because it made me laugh so much. This is from Estaglia Rioda. I've definitely made that very badly pronounced. At F1. It's so true. It couldn't be more true as a meme. Tsunoda did not help Verstappen in the slightest. I just found it very funny and I wanted to share it with you. P7, all that hype and nothing. We were all sat there, weren't we? Probably a lot of expectation as well. Abu Dhabi has had a revamp with the track layout in recent years. It's supposed to be better, but the cars just don't allow it. And that's as simple as that. Hopefully, I feel like we say it every single regulation change ever, to be honest with you, that hopefully Formula 1 cars will be able to follow each other and we can see the true potential of the Yas Marina Circuit revamp. But until then, it was basically another Qatar in a lot of ways. Of course, Charles was making it interesting at the start, wasn't he, with Lando? And there were some overtakes, but I don't know. Nothing comes close to a Brazil finale. Say it once, I'll say it a million times. Just the aura that Interlagos holds as the season finale. It's been so long since it was the season finale, but I'll never forget it. P6, Barton Moyle, Max Verstappen after the race. Oh, Sergio Perez. What he did in 2021. Yes, look, he wasn't fast compared to Max. He had his moments, but, he did struggle. However, 2021 Abu Dhabi, Sergio Perez won Max Verstappen the World Championship with his defence. You watch that on board. That is what Red Bull were expecting of Yuki. Sergio literally brought Max back into the race. Of course, we had lots of controversy afterwards. But in terms of the dive bombs that Perez did to stay ahead of Hamilton, the DRS and slipstream as he went down the second back straight to then get the inside again and get back through and then held him up in the last sector by an insane amount of seconds. That is what Max would have liked, but didn't happen. Honourable mentions. Okay, into honourable mentions we go. Mr. Bear 15. Me every time I saw the championship battle graphic. How many more of you were baited? I personally wasn't baited by this in the sense of it looking like the safety car graphic. I think it's because it has the little jazzy bits on either side, which obviously the safety car doesn't. But let me know if there were others of you that were baited by this graphic. At @TornN__, I still don't understand why they pit Norris. Now, I included this meme because it's an interesting meme. However, I disagree with it. I really disagree with it. I think McLaren did everything they needed to do on the strategy to ensure that Lando didn't lose a podium position. The two-stop was viable, and it's a risk that McLaren and Lando didn't want to take. They didn't want to have Charles Leclerc get into P3 and then have to speak to Oscar, slow down and let Lando through. They didn't want that situation. So I think they did a perfect job, McLaren. We've criticised them this year for some questionable decisions, but this one, genuinely think they did the right calls. That Naman, Yuki in the race. So know what to do. Leave me alone. Let's Lando go and gets a 5-second penalty. I know there's a lot of Yuki memes here, but realistically, what else happened in the race? Not a lot. I will say for Yuki, I do feel very sorry for him. I feel sorry for the fact that he's lost his seat after showing great potential, going to a seat that's cursed, a seat that doesn't work for any driver, really, not when you compare them to Max Verstappen. And now, because other potential, of course, are coming through in Red Bull and Racing Bulls, he's now finding himself as a reserve, but it's hard to watch because Yuki, up until the point of the promotion, was doing very well indeed and had the hype, had the momentum, and that was the reason he got the promotion. Of course, Liam Lawson, with his struggles, allowed that to happen for Yuki, but yeah, Liam's struggles essentially opened the door for Yuki to then lose his seat at the end of the season. It's a savage world, Formula One. Last kick W. Lur, claim your star. I survived the 2025 season as a Ferrari fan. But they like just at the end of the season to just make you believe again, just ever so slightly. If someone had told me that Charles Leclerc was going to be fighting Lando Norris for the majority of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix after what we saw in Qatar, I would have questioned that. And the levels of delusion that my brain goes. So to end the season like that, of course the cars are completely different next year. There's a part of me that believes that 2026 might be our year. Lunch Guru, me staring at the gap between Lando and Leclerc the entire race. That's literally all that we had to really do. Whenever we lose the timings, whenever F1 broadcast has a meltdown and we lose the timings, that's 80% of the things that I look at. Genuinely, it feels as though the timing screen is the number one focal point and the actual F1 cars are the background. They're just the background noise and visuals, and it's all about the timing until we see an overtake. And that was what we kept looking at. Leclerc was flying. I was very proud to be a Charles Leclerc fan today because I think he really did get everything out of the car. The Criz, POV, us watching the final race of the year. This was, of course, during FP1, where Oscar had one of the largest yawns I've seen on an F1 broadcast. And he then realised immediately after yawning that it had been caught on camera. Bless him. Oscar's great. I love his humour. And yeah, this was us during the majority of it. And we had a three-way title fight, may I remind you. And it still didn't really deliver. P5, turn to page 394. Leclerc following Norris. This race be like... I don't know if that's... I mean, I can't say I've ever tried to do this, but it looks impressive. The tempo of how they're walking is quite something. But yeah, Leclerc all over the back of Lando, but wasn't able to make a move. But I know for a fact Charles did want that podium, so it's not for the lack of trying. P4, since M. Schumi, the spice in this race we did not expect. It was all George Russell, wasn't it? It was all talk, and me included. How will George Russell get involved in this title fight? We did not. We did not respect Charles Leclerc's name, did we? I don't think he probably thought he was going to be there either, but he was the one that brought the excitement. George Russell's race. I mean, how slow were Mercedes today? Ridiculous. P3 is the quiz. Wow, I mean, you've had a couple of submissions this one, but this one's great. Russell playing checkers while others are playing chess. This was absolutely sensational from George Russell. I have to say, this was, of course, from qualifying. The mind games, the million IQ play that genuinely surprised me. And, you know, I've done a bit of sim racing. I know, you know, when you can do little things here and there. This one was right at the top. Didn't get it, but I like the fact he was trying to play those games. P2, and just missing out on the final best reactions. P1, it is Erica is golden. Charles Leclerc trying to catch Norris with his dustbin. I just enjoy it. That's a chaotic meme. That picture of Charles is quite... It doesn't even really look like Charles. I don't know where that picture's come from, but either or, those medium tyres on that dustbin look great, and he's going the wrong way, actually, as well. I haven't really factored that into it. Either or, Erica, great job. Now, before we get into P1, I have another thing to share with you, which I found very funny indeed, and it's to do with Sergio Perez, so you've probably seen it. The F1 Troll account, a meme page, posted the "Perhaps I treated you too harshly." And Perez replied, "Perhaps," laughing face. Oh, dearie me. I love it. I love this kind of... You know, Perez is now sort of opening up his thoughts and feelings about having been a Red Bull driver now that, of course, he's not in the Red Bull family and he's a free man, and he's, of course, coming back on the grid next year with Cadillac. And I'm interested to see, you know, a little bit more of like snippets of things from Checo from 2026 and beyond. Yeah, great replying to a meme. Perez is chronically online. We can see it. P1, the winner of the final best reactions of the series, goes to Caleb, qualifying watch along. And this was, of course, Tommy. This made me laugh so much when I first saw it. Tommy was wearing his heart rate monitor on his wrist. It went to 210 heart rate. His BPM went to 210 for a very small second. We all thought maybe we need to call the emergency services. And it was just like oh my God, it says 210. It was brilliant. If you saw it, you will love this. If you haven't, you need to be part of the watch along crew. A few, you know, related to what we do, but that's because it was an absolute stinker of a race. Still enjoyed it all the same, Caleb. So well done. You win some P1 merch. I'll be in contact. For one final time, it's Controversial Opinions with Tom Bellingham. Tommy, you have brought one to the table. It's from Tom Royce. Why did McLaren sabotage Oscar by keeping him out for so long and destroy his chance at the title?
Well, look, Oscar had a long shot of the championship. He had to do something different. And had it worked out, it would have looked like an absolute genius move. You could also argue that them putting Oscar on that strategy made it really, really difficult for Max to win because he couldn't back up the field, which would have obviously helped him to put Lando where he needed. They wouldn't have been able to do that with Oscar, but then also Oscar would have been there to capitalise on going on a different strategy to Max if those two were kind of looking at each other, which is exactly what happened with Sebastian Vettel the way he won it in 2010. So I don't think they sabotaged him. Of course, it ended up being the way it played out, but you know, they had to go something. Oscar was such a long shot, they just had to roll the dice, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I really don't see where McLaren was sabotaging Oscar at all. The hard tyres were a really good tyre in this race. Like, it's not as if they were insanely slow, and Oscar managed to get through on Lando. And there's a lot of chatter online saying that Lando actually let Oscar through in order to go and attack Max and things like that. I didn't personally read it like that, but either or, there was no sabotage there. The moment that, of course, Oscar would have probably come into the pits when Max was right behind, that was a pivotal moment for Lando. Lando had to cover off Charles. So I can understand why McLaren would favour the championship leader in that specific moment. And then a lap later, Oscar came into the pits. Should we get a VSC when Oscar hadn't pit? Or a full-blown safety car? That brings him right into play. So I actually think McLaren, genuinely, there's no part of the strategy that I would question that McLaren did in this race. I think they covered off with Lando and Charles very well with the two-stop and things. I have no notes really about McLaren's strategy.
They got it spot on. They got it spot on because essentially they needed to do what they did with Lando, and it allowed them to basically be clever and kind of make sure Max couldn't do what he did. And then if he did, Oscar would have been there to pick up the pieces and take the championship. So Oscar had to roll the dice. They left him out for a long time because, of course, they were hoping for virtual safety cars, things like that could have helped him or changed the complexion of the race. Unfortunately for them, nothing happened in terms of Oscar's team. Thankfully for Lando, nothing happened, and he could just make his way to the title.
And also, he finished second. Oscar literally finished second. It's not like he was left out there and finished seventh in the end. Like, he beat Lando in the race. Track. So it wasn't a bad call at all by McLaren. Right, thank you so much, Tommy, for your controversial opinions all year long. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Right, that is it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to not only this episode, but the entire season of Best Reactions. If you've enjoyed it, please leave this video a like, share the love, say how much you love this series, and we'll see what we can do for next year and beyond. It's been a pleasure to share in all the memes, the laughs, and everything else in between. And a few months now until the next Best Reactions, potentially. And until then, have an amazing Christmas should you celebrate it, and a Happy New Year. And we'll still have more content. Plenty more content, don't you worry. And maybe see you at a P1 live show if you are going to that this week. It'll be this week when this goes out. So yeah, see you there. Bye.